Mr. Speaker, and with that, I move we adjourn sine die.
So ordered.
The gavel, the cheering, we are familiar with that sound. It filled the chamber of the state capitol, lawmakers marking the end of the legislative session.
And now they're looking ahead. Session wrapped up at midnight. Lawmakers concluded another long night of debate. Your reporter Anna Stansfield live for us outside the Capitol building once again this morning to break down some of the biggest issues addressed this year. Good morning, Anna.
Well, good morning. As you mentioned, it came after several late nights and early mornings, especially in the last few days as that clock really started to dwindle down on these lawmakers. But during the session, they were able to pass several key pieces of legislation and get them through to the governor's desk. The proposed budget this year was a major focus for lawmakers after hearing warnings of cuts to staff and programming from school districts across our state. Leaders in the House and Senate decided to increase funding for education by about $200 million. Homeschool regulations also took up days of debate at the Capitol, and a new bill will bring more regulations for parents who want to take their kid out of school. They'll now have to apply every year and get a background check. And if they have any active cases with DCF or are on the abuse registry, they won't be able to homeschool their kid. Another big focus this session was bringing ICE regulations to Connecticut. A bill that's already secured the governor's signature will restrict where ICE agents can detain people in our state and allows for legal recourse for anyone who feels their civil rights are being violated. And yesterday morning, after an overnight debate, lawmakers passed a bill restricting the sale of certain Glock-style pistols that can be turned into machine guns. So obviously lots of progress made here this year, but there were also several bills that did not pass through this session. I'll break down some of those coming up in the next half hour. For now, though, I'm your reporter live in Hartford. Anna Stansfield, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Anna, thank you.